Friends, welcome back to newspaper editorials discussion. Two things before going ahead. The first one is, sometimes by slip of tongue some small minor error may take place. Yesterday, instead of Russia, I uttered China somewhere around in 27th minute or so. So, those type of slip of tongue errors sometimes may crop up, and I request the students, please understand and please bring it to our notice, because we are not doing any proof checking, it is direct live and slip of tongue sometimes may take place. And one student pointed out that minor mistake, instead of Russia I uttered China. So, these things are also very important. Then second point is, yesterday we started combining this news at a while with analysis, and most of the students are happy with this, but some students expressed their reservations. Because of this, the analysis part timings may be reduced. So, this is a real concern, to be very precise. So, what we are planning is, from April 1, news for a while will be separated from analysis. There will be two separate lectures for the day's news, at the same time analysis part, because analysis must have its due importance, I fully agree, and news for a while, because that is also equally important, because whatever news happens today, the analysis appears in the subsequent 3-4 days. So, without knowing the news in detail, sometimes you may not be able to understand the analysis. So, keeping that in mind, it is better if we bifurcate these two aspects, and I would like to do that from 1st of April. So, you will have separate lectures for news as well as analysis separately. News I would like to restrict it to 10 to 15 minutes, and analysis will continue as usual. So, this we will plan from April 1st, and the next important aspect is today's news for a while. This aspect I included two S&T issues, and there are suggestions in fact from the students with regard to including some S&T and environment issues in this news for a while. Definitely I am also of the same opinion. Second point is, second important suggestion is, Press Information Bureau releases several press releases, and some of them are very important, which may not appear in the newspapers. So, those things also we will try to corner. Third important aspect is, in Indian Express there is one page exclusively dedicated to explained column. So, there also some important issues are discussed, and these three suggestions were made by the students, and definitely these three are useful to the student community. So, we will try to incorporate in news for a while from now onwards, and as a initial gesture I added two S&T items today. Tomorrow also I will add two S&T items. So, the idea is, news for a while also must be different from what you are learning directly from newspapers or other sites, right. So, here let us start with this. Supreme Court calls for out of court settlement in Ayodhya case. Ayodhya case I will tell you in a nutshell, I will spend only few seconds. The Muslims' contention is, in the 16th century Babri Masjid was constructed, so the land title belongs to Muslims. The Muslims' contention is, 16th century Babri Masjid was constructed, so the land title belongs to Muslims. So, Muslims' contention is this, and Supreme Court is now saying that they are going through the texts of 16th century, which were written in Arabic and Persian, and at the same time they are also looking at 8,000 pages judgment given by the Allahabad High Court. Then Hindus' contention is, the place where Babri Masjid stands is the place where Lord Ram was born, and that place belongs to Hindus, and their masjid was constructed by dismantling the temple in 16th century. So, that place belongs to Hindus, that is the Hindus' contention. So, this is Muslims contention, this is Hindus contention, and 2010 Allahabad High Court gave a judgment indicating 2/3 will go to Hindus, 1/3 will go to Muslims. The area is 2.77 acres, 2/3 will go to Hindus, 1/3 will go to Muslims, but the matter subsequently went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is not in a position to give judgment on this contentious issue, because it is pertaining to religious sentiments of not only Hindus but also Muslims. So, two religions are involved here. So, Supreme Court yesterday came up with out of court settlement. If you do out of court settlement, I am ready to do mediation. These are the words of Supreme Court Chief Justice. Right, we leave this here. Let us look at the second one. Aadhaar must for IT returns. Here Aadhaar is going to be must for IT returns, and as per the finance minister's version, cash transactions will be limited to rupees 2 lakhs. So, for any single transaction, cash transaction will be limited to rupees 2 lakhs. Then beyond 2 lakhs, if anyone is doing a cash transaction, then the equal penalty will be imposed. So, for one single transaction, cash transaction limit will be rupees 2 lakhs once the finance bill is passed. So, from April 1, most likely cash transaction limit will be rupees 2 lakhs. Second point is Aadhaar must for IT returns. Aadhaar will be linked to all the bank accounts, so no one can escape the law. So, these are the steps in the direction of bringing more and more people into the tax net, please understand. Then the third one is, one data is given in the Hindu, interesting data. This is with regard to the relation between, please understand, there are two lines, the relation between increase in carbon dioxide with increase in global surface temperature. Global surface temperature is the increase taken relative to 1951-1980 average. So, over the average temperature of 1950 to 1980, now the temperature increase in 2017 is 1 degree centigrade. So, in comparison to 1960, in comparison to, you can say, the average of 1950 to 1980, now the global increase is 1 degree centigrade. So, why this is pertinent is, there are two aspects here. One is carbon dioxide increase, second one is the increase in global temperature. Carbon dioxide increase, if you go to pre-industrial era, that means around 1750 or so, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, please understand carefully, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere prior to industrial era were 280 parts per million, 280. They increased to around 315 by 1960. So, in 200 years almost, the increase of carbon dioxide levels were just 35 ppm, and now if you look at the period of 50 years, now they touched almost 400. Now, global carbon dioxide levels are 400, 280 before pre-industrial era, then 315 or so in 1960, but now they are 400 parts per million. So, carbon dioxide is increasing quite fast. Similarly, average global temperatures, surface temperatures have increased by 1 degree centigrade. During the past 50 years, global average surface temperature increased already by 1 degree centigrade. But what Paris Pact says? Paris Pact says that we have to limit it to preferably 1.5 degrees centigrade in comparison to pre-industrial levels. And imagine, during the past 50 years or so, temperatures increased by 1 degree centigrade. And please do not forget the temperatures. If you look at the hottest years in 2000 or you can say in 21st century, the hottest years are 15 out of 16. So, here this chart shows there is a correlation between carbon dioxide levels increase and temperature increase, and second important point is carbon dioxide is increasing fast. Third important point to note from this chart is this global temperature is also increasing fast, and maintaining that 1.5 degrees centigrade or 2 degrees centigrade in comparison to pre-industrial levels as enunciated in Paris Pact may be Herculean task. This is evident from this chart. Next one is US UK limit electronic devices on planes. From certain airports in the world, this US UK, they limited this electronic devices as cabin baggage. So, on this, basically the security threat is there. Because of security threat, these orders were issued yesterday both in US and UK when the planes are taking off from specific airports across the world. Most of those airports are in Muslim countries. Then India slips in Human Development Index. This is one important news item. Human Development Index, the brain behind it is Mehboob Haq, he belongs to Pakistan, and Amartya Sen is also associated with the Human Development Index. Human Development Index not only takes into account the income of the country, it looks at two more important parameters. The three important parameters considered in Human Development Indicators, Human Development Index are, this is life expectancy at birth, that is long and healthy life, or you can say health is one indicator. The second indicator is education, third indication is income. So, Human Development Index totally combines not only income part, but it also combines education and health. So, here there is health part, that is life expectancy at birth. In our country at present it is around 67 to 68 years. Then education, that means years of schooling and expected years of schooling. So, education is another aspect. Then third one is gross national income per capita. By combining these three aspects, Human Development Index is calculated, and if you look at our country, the Human Development Index, it was down by one place instead of increasing, it was down by one place 130 to 131. So, it was down by one place among 188 countries ranked in terms of human development, and this is released by United Nations Development Program, and our HDI is 0.624. We are in medium category. What are the categories? You may have a doubt. Very high, high, medium, low. Very high, high, medium, low, and we are at the medium category, that is 0.624. And if you look at SAARC countries, we are at a third position behind Sri Lanka and Maldives, world's number 3 topmost countries as far as the Human Development Index is concerned are Norway, Australia and Switzerland. So, HDI, high HDI normally indicates a long and healthy life, access to knowledge, access to decent standard of living. So, one is health, second one is education, the third one is basically pertaining to income. So, these three put together Human Development Index, right. So, further information is 1.5 million people, probably it appears to be wrong, this appears to be wrong, let us leave this. So, 54% of the people concentrated in South Asia, that means 54% of the people who live in multi-dimensional poverty concentrated in South Asia. So, what I mean to convey is, what is the meaning of multi-dimensional poverty? We learnt about HDI. Multi-dimensional poverty is, it will take further finer tools. These three are the main categories, and 10 tools are taken, and there are further refined tools to calculate multidimensional poverty. So, South Asia had the highest levels of malnutrition with 38%. Then India made substantial gains in 25 years. One is improving life expectancy by 10 years in 25 years and reducing child malnutrition by 10 percentage points. So, these things are very important, and in 25 years our HDI increased from 0.4 to 8 to 0.6 to 4, right. This is about HDI, and in the days to come we will have articles on this, then we will deliberate on these aspects subsequently. One S&T item, this appeared on Sunday the Hindu, telescope upgrade to sniff out to solar storms. For sniffing out solar storms, this telescope is being upgraded. So, here 2-3 important aspects, I will spend 2 minutes. What is meant by solar storm? Solar storms are basically eruptions from the sun. They emit huge quantities of particles. They emit huge quantities of particles, and then you may have a doubt, then what will happen when huge particles are emitted? When huge particles are emitted, then here Earth's magnetic field may be affected. Earth's magnetic field may be affected. So, with these solar storms, sometimes they affect the satellites in orbit. So, please understand carefully, solar storms are basically eruptions from the sun that cause emissions of huge quantities of particles, and solar eruptions from the sun spew giant clouds of magnetic energy and plasma, and because of this what happens? Because of this, satellites in orbit may be affected. At the same time, lack of GPS navigation, mobile phone signals and satellite TV may go away, and sometimes they may blow out electrical transformers, disrupting power supply. So, to detect these solar storms, this GRAPES 3 is being augmented. What is GRAPES 3? GRAPES 3 is Gamma Ray Astronomy PEV Energies Phase 3. Basically, this GRAPES 3 is designed to study cosmic rays or high energy radiation from sun. So, the news here is this GRAPES 3, this is at Ooty. This is the initiative or collaboration of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research along with other Japanese universities, and this is being upgraded to monitor solar storms in a better way. So, GRAPES 3 experiment is at Ooty basically to detect solar storms. So, solar storms are emissions from sun. Because of emission of particles from the sun, then what happens? Then satellites may be affected, GPS, navigation, all these things may be affected. Then the next experiment is, this is new Wi-Fi system to offer super fast connectivity. So, here basically in the new Wi-Fi system, this was found by scientists from University of Netherlands, researchers from University of Netherlands basically developed a new wireless internet based on infrared rays. Please look into this. This is infrared rays, and this is a visible light spectrum. This side it is ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays. So, these are high frequency and these are low frequency, and here infrared. In the infrared zone, the scientists or you can say researchers found out the high speed internet which is possible based on infrared rays. Last year there was a question in civil services preliminary, what is the Li-Fi? And now we are talking about this infrared rays based internet. It is 100 times faster than existing Wi-Fi networks, and it has a huge capacity of more than 40 gigabits per second, and at the same time the sharing is not required here. Sharing of the network or internet is not required. So, it does away with the need to share Wi-Fi, as every device gets its own ray of light, right. So, if you look at further, wireless data comes from a few central light antennas, and at the same time these are able to precisely direct the rays of light supplied by optical fiber. Then here, please go through this. Here different devices are designed with different wavelengths from same light. Different designs are made, or different devices are designed with different wavelengths. So, each and every person will receive rays at different wavelength, so that the sharing process is not required. At present, we are sharing the internet, and in future once it becomes a reality, sharing process is not required, because each and every instrument will access high speed internet in this spectrum. In this spectrum, each and every instrument will access at different wavelength, right. So, current Wi-Fi uses radio signals with the frequency of 2.4 to 5 gigahertz, and the new system uses infrared light with wavelengths of 1500 nanometers. So, researchers able to get a speed of 42.8 gigabits per second. So, this is almost more than 100 times faster than the existing networks, right. So, this is about the high speed internet based on infrared light, right. So, this is developed by researchers from University of Netherlands, right friends. This news for a while, we will stop here. Let us move on to most important aspect of analysis of editorials and articles. First one is with regard to the consolidation in telecom sector. This is the Hindu, and one more is there in business line. Two are talking about consolidation in telecom sector, and here some words you should have idea: merger, acquisition, amalgamation. Merger means two separate entities combine to create a new organization. These 5 subsidiaries are merging into State Bank of India. So, merger, and loosely acquisition is also sometimes used. Normally, acquisition is the term used when some small company is taken over by a big company. You see, company like Amazon, if it takes over small e-commerce companies, then you have to use acquisition. Sometimes acquisition is also called takeover, but takeover gives negative connotation. So, here acquisition means, broadly understand, acquisition is takeover, or big company will take over the small company. So, here takeover of one company by another sometimes is also known as takeover. So, this is acquisition. So, merger means two separate entities combine. So, normally the present one, which is recent one, that is Idea with Vodafone, this is called merger, right. Acquisition is used when big company takes over a small company. Amalgamation is another term which is used when two companies merge to create altogether new identity. That means, the present company's brand name will not be there normally. So, two companies merging together to create altogether a new company is amalgamation. So, mergers and acquisitions are normally interchangeably used. That is why specific term is there, mergers and acquisitions, that is M and A's. So, merger and acquisition, amalgamation, you should have clear idea, and the present news item is with regard to Vodafone Idea. Yesterday we discussed Vodafone Idea merged to create a giant which will become the largest in the country with 35% customer market share and 41% revenue market share. So, having learned this, please look at it. Vodafone is UK based company, and here Telenor is Norway based, if I am not wrong. So, ultimately what will happen, this one group second group, third group, fourth group, and this is government control group of BSNL plus MTNL. So, there may be 4 or 5 telecom companies. Previously, a few years ago, there were 13 companies. Now, they are going to become 4 or 5. So, if you look at India's telecom story, to understand this article, you should have clear idea about India's telecom story. Foreign companies came with a lot of expectations into our country. This is one example, Vodafone is one example. Foreign companies came up to our country because huge market base is there. And second point is 100% FDI is allowed in telecom sector. In telecom sector, 100% FDI is allowed, and please don't forget, banking sector 74% is allowed. Vodafone is UK based company, Telenor is Norway based, and they came with a lot many expectations to our country. But what happened? There are more than 100 crore telecom customers today, around 113 crores or so, and out of these telecom customers, what happened is average revenue per user continue to be too less. Average revenue per user continues to be too less. That is one unfortunate aspect. Second point is telecom industry spent thousands of crores of rupees in spectrum. In spectrum auctions, they spent thousands of crores of rupees money, and the financial health at present, because of this heavy spectrum costs, is not satisfactory. Financial health is not satisfactory, and if you look at the combined debt, it is rupees 4 lakh crore. So, the combined debt of telecom sector is at present rupees 4 lakh crore, please understand. This is because of 3-4 reasons. One reason is average revenue per user is less. Second point, most important aspect is they purchased spectrum at high cost. Third important point is they invested individually on infrastructure like telecom towers. When they are investing, if you go to small village, you will have 4-5 towers. There is no need for that type of investment in a small village. One tower is sufficient and people can share it. Instead of sharing telecom towers, they invested in several villages. 4-5 telecom towers are established, and that is another reason. So, creating infrastructure, maintaining infrastructure individually like spectrum, telecom towers is affecting their bottom line, and at the same time the onslaught of Reliance Jio is the most important aspect. Reliance Jio came up with aggressive policies, aggressive pricing. So, because of this, not only that, they gave free pricing for almost 6 months, and most of the telecom companies are of the opinion regulatory mechanism in our country is not satisfactory. In fact, the leeway given to Reliance Jio is vitiating the competitive environment in our country, and neither CCI nor TROI are doing anything in this aspect. That is the general perception of both Airtel as well as Vodafone. Under these circumstances, what happens? Only the firms with deep pockets will survive. For survival, they should have deep pockets, and this amalgamation of assets and optimization of assets is the need of the hour, and that is why they are going for consolidation. So, additional information, huge data revolution is on the cards. In future, during the next 2-3 years, huge data revolution is on the cards, and Reliance Jio is in fact betting on this data. Then average data consumption, that doubled during the past 2 years. Average data consumption per user has more than doubled to 753 MB from 338 MB per month 2 years ago, and it is expected to grow exponentially in future. Mobile banking transactions is another area which is expected to grow exponentially in the future, and around 400 million new users are expected to take data connections in the next 2 years alone. So, it is going to be the era of data, and Reliance Jio quite evidently gave lot of emphasis on data, and in fact Reliance Jio named itself as not as telecom company but as digital empire. Then since 2010 the industry has bid for spectrum, and the total value of spectrum is 3.5 lakh crores of rupees, and the annual revenue of all the telecom players put together is rupees 2.6 lakh crores every year. So, under these circumstances consolidation is the need of the hour, and why the companies are going for consolidation now? To answer this question, we already deliberated several aspects. That itself is the answer for this question. So, the problems which the firms are facing is resulting into consolidation now. So, entry of Reliance Jio changed the overall dynamics, and higher spectrum costs are putting pressures on profitability, and the companies with deep pockets can only survive in the present circumstances. So, big is the mantra. So, under these circumstances, whoever is big, they only can survive because of the reason big will take care of the optimization of resources. So, when 2-3 companies merge, what will happen? Then subsequently spectrum can be shared optimally, spectrum can be utilized optimally, telecom towers can be shared optimally. So, the need of the hour is consolidation. Then when cutthroat competition is there, then naturally bigger players only will survive, smaller players will vanish. That is the mantra of any business organization. Then the telecom companies are also not happy with the regulatory mechanism, and in fact in the case of Reliance Jio, no telecom company is happy, and in fact there is a general feeling that the regulator is indirectly supporting Reliance Jio. Then consolidation may lead to effective utilization of resources in competitive environment. As I have already told you, in competitive environment, size is the only thing which matters, and consolidation is the inevitable outcome in any industry. So, 13 operators a few years ago will come down to 5 after consolidation. So, this is all about the telecom consolidation, and 2 newspapers carried editorials today. And if you look at World Water Day, today is World Water Day, and one article in the Hindu, another one in the Business Line. The Hindu article talks about the wastewater treatment. Wastewater must be reutilized. The article totally talks about the wastewater treatment because water crisis is going to be too severe in the near future across the world. Water stress is going to be the most difficult problem to solve in the times to come, within near future only, not far away. So, this article I am going to deliberate, and in the Business Line, very good article. This is about water stress, and in detail this gave details about water stress. I am going to present a separate capsule during 12th week on water stress, and now we are going to deliberate on this wastewater management. So, 2 aspects to solve the water crisis. One is how to preserve or conserve the water resources, that Business Line article is talking about it. The second one is how to treat wastewater, how to recycle it. So, these things are appearing today in the newspapers. So, this article I am going to deliberate now, and overall water crisis I am going to deliberate as a special capsule. So, today World Water Day, that is March 22nd is World Water Day. Now, UN Water Development Program is going to release this World Water Development Report, Wastewater, the Untapped Resource. This report is going to be released, and more than 80% of the world's wastewater is released into the environment untreated. So, the wastewater after usage is being released into the environment untreated. So, if you look at the world, it is 80%, and if you look at the least developed countries, it is 95%. Then Vietnam, Pakistan, the figure is 80%. So, overall more than 80% of the water is left untreated and it is left as it is. So, this is the present day reality. So, you may have a doubt, what are the problems associated with the release of untreated water? If the untreated water is released into the environment, what are the problems associated with it? It is a threat to human health and aquatic ecosystems. Overall, it will affect the ecosystem, or you can say biodiversity will be disturbed, because when untreated water is left as it is, it will cause total ecological imbalance as a whole. Then another important aspect is there is urban shift going on basically in developing countries. This urbanization is the phenomena no one can stop, and around 30% of urban dwellers live in slum areas. The unfortunate aspect of our cities is 30% of urban dwellers live in slum areas where wastewater is normally discharged and nearest surface drain or informal drainage channel. So, in the slum areas, this 30%, still it is more in some cities. There, from slum areas, this untreated wastewater is directly let out into informal drains most of the times. So, how to prevent the proliferation of slums, that is all different story, I am not going into that. Then the third point is, in slum areas, there is a risk of contracting cholera, dysentery and typhoid. Even in countries with improved sanitation coverage also, only 26% of urban and 34% of rural sanitation services prevent human contact with excreta. So, the main point here is the contact with human excreta can only be prevented if proper sanitation treatment methods are available. And in several developing countries, proper awareness is also not there with regard to personal hygiene. So, these are the problems associated with the release of untreated water. In addition to them, we have already discussed a few more points. Total ecological imbalance will be there, aquatic life will be affected, and overall biodiversity will be disturbed, and water sources will become polluted. So, because these are all the problems of this associated with the release of untreated water. Then what about social benefits? The article talks about social benefits also. Most important benefit is, for every $1 spent on sanitation, society benefits will be accrued by an estimated $5.5. If you spend $1 on sanitation, society will be benefited as a whole by $5.5. So, where do you get this much of returns? If you are spending $1, you are getting the benefits of $5.5 to the society, and this is the utmost advantage. Then, what do you understand by circular economy? Here, basically, as per the report, neglecting the opportunities arising from improved water waste management is nothing less than unthinkable in the context of a circular economy. So, here the passage used circular economy. Circular economy, the meaning is economic development and environmental sustainability are interdependent. Economic development is a must, no one can say no for that, right. So, here the basic point is environmental sustainability and economic development must go hand in hand. So, that is a circular economy. So, its emphasis will be on minimizing pollution and maximizing reuse and recycling. So, pollution should be minimized, then reuse and recycling must be improved. So, here with the reuse and recycling, what will happen? Then the sustainability and economic development both will be taken care of. So, here the issue of wastewater as untapped resource of unparalleled potential comes into picture. So, it has got lot of potential. So, do not treat wastewater as simply waste. It has got lot of potential, and most important aspect is it will fit into the goal of circular economy. Circular economy is basically without harming the environment, development should take place. That is circular economy. So, it fits into circular economy. And here, what are the benefits of recycling? What are the benefits of recycling? When treated safely, wastewater can be a source of not only fresh water, that means wastewater can be reused, not only that, energy, then nutrients and other recoverable materials can be separated from wastewater. The extraction of wastewater byproducts such as salt, nitrogen, phosphorus, they already proved lucrative in Asia Pacific. So, salt, nitrogen, phosphorus, these can be separated from the wastewater. In Southeast Asia, revenues from fertilizer have paid for the operational costs of the systems number of times. So, if they are spending something, so they are getting much more returns in the form of fertilizer in Southeast Asian nations. So, the crux of the matter is to promote circular economy, that means to strike a balance between environment and development. The need of the hour is basically to treat the water, and by treating the water there are several economic benefits like water, energy, then at the same time nutrients, right. So, this emphasizes on benefits of recycling. So, what is the problem? Basically, problem is the mindset and at the same time sometimes technology. So, here wastewater management receives little social or political attention as water scarcity does. Everyone talks about water scarcity, but very few talk about wastewater management. Everyone talks about water scarcity. The other article, as I have told you, the other article in Business Line is about water scarcity, and I am going to present a capsule on that. And here everyone talks about water scarcity, but few talk about wastewater management. And World Economic Forum warned that water crisis would be the greatest global risk faced by the people and economies over the next 10 years. So, here Asia Pacific region is going to face so many problems, and India and China will also be worst affected. Then Singapore example, the article mentioned Singapore example. Singapore uses reclaimed water, and the reclaimed water is branded as new water, and it serves up to 30% of the country's needs, and it is used for industrial purposes, and the water is also potable, and this points to the wastewater potential benefits for food production and industrial development. Right. So, Singapore is classic example, and what needs to be done here? Efficient management of wastewater requires greater support from municipalities and local governments. Basically, they need to enforce environmental rules and improve infrastructure and services. In fact, this sustainable development goal number 6 that specifically focuses on water and sanitation with the target to address water quality. So, as we pursue sustainable development goal 2030 agenda, 663 million people around the world still lack improved sources of drinking water, and that must be put on the perspective. So, the article talks about water is life, and without a sustained commitment to improve through effective wastewater management, billions of lives will be in peril in future. So, the crux of the article is we have to strike a balance between sustainability as well as development, and wastewater management puts into that paradigm. So, please think about wastewater management. Wastewater not only results in reuse of water, but lot of nutrients can be extracted, and lot of uses are there because of that. So, this article talks about these things. Before concluding, to eschew isolationism, here 4 words are there in this passage. Please understand impasse. What is the meaning of impasse? This is the situation in which progress is impossible, especially because the people involved cannot agree. Can we say this word for Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid issue? Certainly, this word is applicable for Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid issue. So, impasse. Impasse is the situation in which progress is impossible, especially because the people involved cannot agree. Then issue, this is to avoid something intentionally. To avoid something intentionally or to give something up is issue. Then zero-sum game. Zero-sum game is basically the situation one person's gain is equivalent to other person's loss. Normally, any business deal must be win-win game. Normally, business deals or multilateral trade deals must be win-win paradigm. But now Donald Trump says all these multilateral trade agreements are leading to zero-sum game. If you are gaining, I am losing. If I am gaining, you are losing. So, that is zero-sum game. So, any agreement must be win-win situation, but it should not lead to zero-sum game. So, here throw in the towel to admit defeat or to stop trying to do something because you have realized that you cannot succeed. Throw in the towel is to admit defeat. So, these four important words are from this Hindu article, and here this is talking about G20. G20. G20 recently finance ministers conference was held, and normally G20, or you may ask a fundamental question, for what purpose G20 is there? G20 is there to ensure global financial stability. G20 is there for global financial stability, and G20 is meant for two things. One is free trade, second one is multilateralism. One is free trade and the other one is multilateralism. But in the recently concluded finance ministers meeting, for both free trade and multilateralism, people, especially United States, is against these two things, right. So, this is all about this article. G20 is meant for free trade and multilateralism, but the recently concluded finance ministers meeting, United States of America expressed reservations. Basically, with the Trump's administration, this happened. Here, G20, this was founded in 1999, and this is for global international financial stability. Most important, 12th summit is going to be held in Germany, and it consists of 19 individual countries, and these 19 individual countries are both developed and emerging economies along with European Union. So, here developed and emerging economies along with the European Union are there, these 20, they are for international financial stability, and the basic thing is previously they used to be held at minister level meetings and central bank governors till 2008, but since 2008 they are being held at the highest level of the heads of governments subsequent to global financial crisis. So, it seeks to address issues that go beyond the responsibilities of any one organization. So, these are all the countries, 20 countries, of course, European Union put together, there are 20, and I talked to you about G20, which is meant for free trade and bilateralism, free trade and multilateralism, and the present issue. With this, we are concluding today's discussion. Present issue is G20 finance ministers meeting was ended in an impasse. I already told you the meaning of impasse. Then US finance officials refused to sign a commitment to free trade. As I have already told you, the cornerstone of G20 is free trade and multilateralism, but these are missing in this finance ministers meeting. That is the crux of the article. action against climate change was also dropped following US intervention. Then the fourth point is mildly worded trade statement was issued. Mildly worded statement was issued. The countries are working to strengthen the contribution of their trade to their economies. Understand this sentence. The countries are working to strengthen the contribution of their trade to their economies. So, can we say, is it the end of the road for free trade and arrival of protectionism? So, it appears that the days of free trade have gone, the days of multilateral trade deals have gone, and the days of protectionism have arrived. Right friends, with this let us sign off today, and please do join at 12 o'clock for comprehension ability discussion, and the apprehensions expressed by all of you will be taken into consideration. And don't worry, and we will present the best ever possible lectures in current affairs in the country. Have a nice day. Thank you.